be roast beef here. It's Jigs and Bigs. It's another Tuesday, and we have an amazing episode for you guys. It's a damn good one. We're hot off the heels off the September Slot Limit Series, and I'll tell you what, it was kind of crazy all the way around. In fact, as I'm recording the intro here, Sean, the fisherman, is calling me, and I'm sure he's got some commentary, but we're going to get to him later. We have a great show lined up for you. We've got 4 different calls this week in the live well. One of these calls is from a recent caller to the show, normally heard in the FTG, and it's an interesting one, but we got some good stuff to talk about in the live well. This week in our Just the Tip segment, we're talking about rebounding from when a tournament didn't exactly go your way. What can you do? Where's your head at? All that stuff. We're going to kind of talk about what happens post-tournament when you sort of got brought to the light. We'll see how it goes. And then we got Matt McNeil from Boston Anglers in the beef seat this week. We're talking about giant craws, giant silicone craws. Should you be throwing them? Should you consider getting into them? And then, of course, lots of information regarding the upcoming 300th episode of Jigs and Bigs, the party that we're throwing. All kinds of good stuff going on, guys. You're not going to want to miss it. We got much more good stuff coming up for you. Jigs and freaking Bigs. We will see you guys with much more after this. I gotta tell you, we got a couple of jig heads already in the house. We got Todd Sefton here. Todd, how you doing, buddy? Welcome. And then we got the one and only Canadian koala himself, South Detroit Fishing. We got Nick in the house with us. He says, "What a treat." What a treat indeed. Nicholas, you and I have some trip planning that we need to kind of focus on, because I think 2026 is the year I'm going to Canada. Might not ever come back. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But that's the plan. I have the documentation. I have the vessel. Everything is ready to go. We might as well send it and see what happens. Joe, how you doing this fine Monday morning as we record this puppy?
Things are good, man. Yeah? Things are good. Still not fishing, unfortunately, but we're getting the old thumb fixed on Wednesday. So hopefully it'll be a quick recovery and I'll be out on the water before the end of the season.
Wednesday's a big day, man. That's freaking nuts. It is a big day. So yeah, surgery goes down on Wednesday. You get the new implant. Not a tendon.
Ligament. Yeah, ligament. Putting a new ligament in there. Yeah,
it's gonna be nuts, dude. It's gonna be crazy.
Better than ever. It's gonna be like we talked. It's gonna be like that movie Rookie of the Year, dude. Yeah. I'm gonna be casting 3 miles after
Saturday evening. Were your ears kind of ringing a little bit?
Maybe.
I was at a gathering after the tournament. It was a Hot Ones wing eating challenge event that I had done with Adam Ducharme. And Adam and a bunch of his friends, this is like, I think, the 3rd or 4th time that they've done this, where they actually go and they just buy like the pack of like that season's Hot Ones hot sauces. Sure. And they, dude, I'll tell you, the wings were amazing.
That's awesome.
But you were a topic of conversation quite a bit. And Adam was like, yeah, he's like, oh, I mentioned to Joe, I was like, oh, yeah, how you doing? Something about like, are you getting out there and catching any fish or what's going on? And I'm like, yeah, that's a sore spot right now. I'm like, it might not be a good idea.
Yeah.
But man, what a wild, we had a good time. It was a blast.
It was funny because I was at my nephew's birthday party. Sunday, I believe it was. No, it was Saturday. Oh, right. And he's got this little pond on his property, like tiny little pond, but it's got fish in there, like some fish. And Jeremiah's out there catching frogs, and then like small frogs, and throwing them into the pond, and you just see whoop. They're just coming up and grabbing it as soon as they hit the water. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm bringing my freaking frog rod over here, man.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Good stuff. You do anything interesting this week? How did your week go?
Dude, I didn't. Like, it was just like trying to wrap up work stuff. So I'm like ready to be out for a few weeks. And
yeah, that's
just like
tough.
Yeah, just like some family stuff, like kind of getting some shit done around here. Nothing entertaining, unfortunately. No crazy fair like stories. Nothing like that. It was a boring ass week for me.
Nothing wrong with that. Speaking of fairs, the Big E locally is wrapping up.
Dunzo.
Yesterday was the last day. Thank God. I have my week was kind of nuts, but we did check a couple of boxes. So actually, this is a great spot to kind of like throw this out there. So folks that are listening to Jigs and Bigs, you may remember that like months ago. Well, it feels like months ago. It was at least weeks and weeks ago. We had started something on Instagram called the Jigs and Bigs Certified Stud Challenge, and we had folks that I'll be honest with you, I did not expect this to take off exactly the way that it did. So initially I was like, yeah, we'll put this up. It'll probably be 3 or 4 months before we get like 24 submissions would be enough.
Sure.
And within hours we crossed over that barrier. And I'm like, this is not going to be what I thought it was. So there are hundreds of pictures that I've put in, and everybody who met the criteria that was tagged everything. I had created a shared list between Joe and I on Instagram. And the idea was that we were going to go through these together and break them all down and live stream them. And the reality of it is, that shit ain't gonna be able to fucking happen. Like, just schedule wise and everything, it's just gonna be too crazy. Now we have a couple of options, and I think to sort of do the do it the right way, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna, like, since I've already taken a look at all these and made this arbitrary shared list, what we're gonna do is Joe's gonna go through that list. And then he's going to start another shared list. That'll be the Joe approved pictures, right? And the way that people are going to get entered, it's going to be a unanimous vote. So then once I take a look at all the stuff, and he can be as liberal as he wants with these, and then I'll go through and say, we're going to do this one, this one, this one, this one. And these are the ones that we unanimously agreed on. So he'll do the first pass. I'll do the second pass. When we get all that stuff done, this is what I'm thinking, Joe. Either we can live stream the ranking of those on its own thing. And I know you and I had talked about doing a live stream test run out in a live setting where I could practice using the live switcher and stuff. And I'll get to why this is important with an upcoming event in a moment. Or the alternative is we could do this ranking and potentially even give the winner a prize if they're present in person at the 300th episode party.
Okay.
And that gives us a hard date on when we're going to do it. I'm kind of up in the air with it. I mean, obviously, we have to do some kind of a live show recording or something to practice this stuff. So that's awesome. But I'm thinking that we could put a little bit of like poignancy on the event of like, yeah, we're going to award the JB certified stud. And maybe it's something that we do. We extend it for like 2 years at a time. People can submit fish for it, you know, and we do something like that on different social media platforms. So again, like in somebody, one of the entries, one of the folks that had entered had said like, so whatever happened with this? We never heard anything. And everybody who's asked me, I've always told them the same thing. I'm like, life is insane for the two of us right now. I'm like, it's a lot. Sure. It's a lot. The fact that we have never missed a podcast is a little bit crazy. But we got to do this the right way. So we haven't like brushed it off or anything like that. It's like there's a lot of moving parts that are happening. So it is going to happen. We're going to release something, and I have been tinkering with t-shirt designs for this certified stud t-shirt, like a limited release. And it'll be cool. We'll get to select who the winner is, and it could be that the winner is in person that day and could walk with the prize right there, which would be wonderful. But if they're not, if they're one of the folks that are live streaming at the event, we just ship it right out. You know, Ideally, I'd like that to be the only prize that we have to ship is for the certified stud, if that's what we end up doing. But we'll kind of play around with it and see what the scoop is and all that jazz. My week was insane last week. It was crazy. I tried to get out and fish as much as humanly possible. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just hot garbage. There was just no way going around. Actually, we had a lot of rain that came through most of the week that week. Yeah. A lot. I think Wednesday, Thursday, we saw something like almost 2.25 inches come through.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was bananas. And I was like, okay. I knew that I was going to be doing the slot limit series. The September slot was on the 27th of September. And I was like, I kind of want to get out and pre-fish. I was like, Friday is going to be the day I'm kind of putting in a box. That's what we're going to go and do. And it worked out nice because I decided to take Friday night off from my regular trivia event. And I decided this kind of like the week beforehand because like the Big E kind of screwed that entire night up. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get back some of this lost time that I didn't get, you know, to make any real like use out of it. It would just waste a whole day. So I said, I'm gonna do my running around, all the stuff I've got to do, and then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pre-fish. I'm basically gonna head out for like around now. Actually, it was like around noontime, and I fished until about 6 p.m. And dude, it was one of the worst practice days ever. I mean, it was ridiculous. Now, granted, we've been talking about fall fishing in the last 2 or 3 weeks, like about trends and temps and everything. Take a guess what the water temp was when I launched at that river system in that reservoir. Just take a guess. Because I was surprised it was a little bit higher than I had expected.
67.
When I got off the water, it was 67. When I launched, it was 64.
Okay.
64 and a half. And then by the time I got off the water, it hit 67. And then the next day, tournament day, when I launched at like 7 a.m. and motored out to my spot to get all, things tied up and everything. And I'd write down the identifier and do all that stuff beforehand. We had 63. We were under 64 degrees, about 63 degrees.
Okay.
And so the trend is there. But now we've got this series of days that are going to hit high temps in the 80s, but the lows are going to be as low as some nights. It's going to be the high 30s,
right?
Which is buckle up. Like it's nearly go time for that feed bag as far as in these local waters. Now that's going to vary. There's going to be the bodies of water you go to that are still going to hit 70 degrees, because they're shallow or whatever. But for where I was, that's what I experienced. So even launching, I was like, man, I don't know. We'll see. Are they going to be voracious? Are they just going to be eating anything I throw at them? So I'd gone out there with a little bit of a clue. I was like, or a little bit of a plan. I started with some subtle vibration. I started throwing the minigun initially and wasn't getting bit anywhere there. I then downsized to a 3-inch paddle tail swim bait, right, on a 1/4 ounce jig head. That was going to pretty much get the job done.
Yeah.
And I was rigging a few other things. Like I caught one smallie on that. And I was like, okay, so that's one. Let's see if this is a pattern. I didn't put that one down for a while until I got into some areas where that wasn't the ideal choice. I moved over to a jig. I've done well on some of this cover that's here, this wood cover with a jig in the past. And I threw a couple of different jigs, different size profiles, different color patterns to try and dial them in. They would not touch it. I threw a drop shot around some areas. And this is the first time I ever fished this body of water where I had that bow mounted electronics in front of me. And I would mark a couple of fish and they were like belly to the bottom. Like they were not moving at all. And I do believe that a lot of this was because of that storm system that had come through and we had this change in pressure occurring, And I figure I was like, my hope, my gamble, what I was crossing my fingers on was that within the next 18 to 24 hours, we would see a rebound. And they would start to get a little bit more active. And they did, just not that much. So
yeah.
I caught one fish that day. I'd had a bunch of like short strikes on different stuff, but I only put one fish in the boat. And I was like, all right. I had Eleanor with me. I was talking to her like she was like a co-angler. I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do here, dude. Blah, blah, blah. She's like sleeping under the console. She's like, wake me up when you catch something. And it was rough. It was real rough. So I got off the water that day. I came home. I did a little bit of recon and planning to kind of, think of a couple of things to kind of throw out there. And I kind of just went with like the color and about that size pattern. Kind of match those. And I went out that next morning. Now, I went out with an angler. I went out with Tom Monahan. Tom has done some of the, I think he's done the scavenger hunt a couple of times. And I think he's done maybe the first slot limit series, like the original, like Midsummer Madness.
Yeah.
One. And we had gone out and he had never been in the boat before. I was like, let's do it. Let's send it, man. And it was where I was fishing was local to him. I bumped into him Wednesday night at trivia, actually. He and his wife had come out to play adult trivia over at Nathan Bill's. Had a great time. Had to use the word cum shits in one of the questions. And I both times, because I did this again on Thursday, erupted in absolute laughter. It was ridiculous, like a child. I am like a 7th grader, and nothing has changed in my life over the last like 40 years. It's ridiculous. So here I am. I'm doing my thing. We meet up, we get stuff all rigged up, everything's ready to go. I did put some video content together. Let me go through the laundry list of just the fish that I caught that day. I put one fish on the board. It was a 14 1/4 inch smallie. It ate that 3-inch paddle tail. That's what it ate. And these fish that were eating this, they were like they were eating it good. Like I was hooking them in the roof of the mouth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were getting that bait down there. I had to use the forceps a couple of times to remove that hook. It was just bananas. First off, I want to say congrats to everybody who entered in the scavenger in the slot series tournament. We ended up with 22 anglers, which is not the record for the amount of anglers, but it's second place to it, which is amazing for September. So thanks to everybody who entered. We had like the trend has been, the 48 hours before the event were the biggest increase in registration. It was the biggest jump. So it was solid. We get out on the water. It took a little while. It took, I think it probably took 2 hours before I put anything in the boat. Mm-hmm. And I had gone on, I caught about 4 or 5 other bass that day, all of them wicked short. Oh, actually, no, I take that back. That 14 and a half, it wasn't the paddle tail that it ate. That was on a drop shot. And it was still a 3-inch plastic in that same color pattern. Mm-hmm. So it was that same, but it was just a change up. So if I was getting bit on a moving presentation, I would switch over to that drop shot, or I would throw a tiny finesse jig if there was a lot of cover, something like that, something in that like 3-inch window with that color pattern. And I got bit on pretty much everything that was there. They were just the wrong fish.
Yeah.
They were under 12 inches if they were bass, or they were well within the slot if they were anything else. I caught 3 white perch. I caught a fall fish. I caught a monster fall fish. Might have even been a pin-winning fall fish. Okay. That was on one of the finesse jigs. And then I caught a big chain pickerel too. Like It was just the wrong fish. Yeah. And it was just one of those things. I mean, I fished all the way to the end, but it was like I came in last on the leaderboard with only 1 entry. Now, there were a couple of anglers that did not fish. And there was, Tom did put in, I take that back. He caught 2 bass, both of them shorts. And then he also caught, was it a white perch or a rock bass? I forget. It might have been a white perch that he also caught too. It was just freaking brand news, man. It was just bad news the whole day. The good news is like nobody got skunked from our boat, so I felt pretty good about that. I was like, okay, that's. But this is a far cry from where I was hoping to be. I was just hoping to beat and place in the top 3, to be honest with you. Kind of nuts. But hey, here we are, man. Now I will say, because we have 22 anglers, now it's the top 4 positions that pay out. So that's a good thing. Let's talk about the slot limit series, because there was a little bit of interest going on. So as I got off the water, and I'm doing this not to like throw shade at this angler or anything, but we had one of our anglers who had reached out to me, and I want to use this as like a learning sort of opportunity. So I had one angler reach out to me, and it was like, I just pulled the boat out. It was like 4:15 or so. And I had just pulled the boat out, and I got I looked down at my phone, and I got a text and a missed call from an angler. And I look back at the text, and he's like, oh, I've entered 17 fish, but none of them are showing up on the leaderboard. What gives? So I call him, and keep in mind, this is after 4 p.m. And I said to him, I go, look, here's the deal. I said, you're entering these fish? I go, yeah, you're not anywhere on there. And I walk through almost like, because like, again, like troubleshooting is one of these things that I do when I work for speed quizzing. I'm like, so I got to talk to you like you're a complete idiot. All right.
Sure.
I'm like, are you entering the fish this way? Are you going and hitting submit catch and filling out all the information, then hitting submit? And he's like, yes. And they're not showing up. And then he's like, maybe I was like, okay, so what I need you to do is go and just redo them, because they aren't showing up anywhere. Like re-entering in these fish is not going to be an issue. So he says, he's like, oh, maybe it's because like the service isn't great. I'm like, you're on the phone with me now. Your service is fine. I'm like, it's fine. He could submit the low res images or anything like that. So what happened was I looked into this, and what I saw was that he was entering fish without decimal points. So his fish were 1,275 inches, 1,325 inches, 1,500 inches, which, because it's a slot limit series, is booting all those out. They're not counting. Yeah. So that's what the issue was. And I was like, all right, I text him right back, and I was like, bud, you have until 5 p.m. to re-enter all these fish with the proper decimal point in place. I said, after that, I can't help you. He goes, well, can I go back and edit the ones that are in there? And I'm like, no, because they're already accounted for and booted out. So they're not even technically in there. But why on earth would you be able to go back and edit them? It's up for me to delete them and then you to whatever, you know, and then resubmit. But I was like, you only have till 5 o'clock to be able to do it. So get on it. And this is why that's there. It's for these types of things. So folks, I need you to think about this when you're entering in fish. You've got to put the decimal point in place. Like, the app isn't intelligent enough to just do it for you and make that, you know, and nor should it be. I mean, like, it's the angler's responsibility to input this information. So he did. And of course, those 17 fish puts them in first place. Now, the official judgment has not come through. I haven't even looked at these fish in an official capacity. I will say this much. I've already kind of eyeballed some of the entries. I do see some duplicate entries, and we're going to be deleting those accordingly and everything else. So we will see what happened overall after everything gets completely washed through. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, and he says to me, this is when I was on the phone, he goes, yeah, I've never used this app before. I'm like, it's not the app. You know, this is just when you enter in a number, like, you've got to put the proper decimal point in place to represent 3/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 of an inch, or right on the nose, you know? So it is what it is. But hey, here we are. I'm excited to go through these fish and figure out who our winner is. We'll have the full results, the official results, coming up later in the show or later in next week's podcast. But it was a wild ass day. I got off the water though, and I had committed to some plans with a group of guys. Adam Ducharme being one of them. Adam is. He's also, I guess, a coworker of Joe's, really. And I've been out fishing with Adam before. We got him on a PB chain pickerel, had a great time. So he organizes with a group of his friends this Hot Ones tasting sort of gathering, and he purchases the Hot Ones hot sauces, the whole list, all 10 of them, and it comes in this kit with these really weird, some of them very awkward questions. It's like truth or dare. You eat the wing, and if you don't want to eat the wing, you have to answer a truth question, and some of these are really messed up. Like, it helps you have to know. Like, there's one that's like, who's somebody that you never dated that you wish you had? And I'm like, you really have to know these people really well. And we're like, yeah, you can just fucking make up whatever you want or whatever. So, and that led to a conversation that reminded me when I first started Trivia Night. And I'm going to tell you this, Joe, because I'm dying to see your reaction. When I first started hosting trivia, I really wanted to push the envelope of people and make them a little uncomfortable. Sure. And back in the day, my former sister-in-law, she had, I forget what it was for. It might have been a housewarming gift or something like that. She had got me this drinking game, right? That's totally her MO, called What the Fuck. You ever heard of this?
I haven't heard of What the Fuck.
Okay.
No.
So What the Fuck is played with 2 different books, and there's like different dice. There's like a red, white, and a blue die, and you spin them, and that number combination is a 3-digit number, and you look up that number on your in the book, and you can choose book 1 or book 2. There's no difference. It's just double the amount of questions, so it keeps things interesting. And then every player has a chip, and it's got an A and a B. So there's 2 options. And you kind of vote on what it is. And if the person was right, yes, certain people have to drink. And if the person was wrong, then the person who answered the question has to drink, like something like that. Well, I took these books and I was like, I'm going to use these at trivia. We're going to eliminate the drinking. I'm going to award points, toward trivia. So I had this question that I asked, and this is so fucked up. I'm going to ask it here. Nobody has to answer this. I don't want to know. I don't. The question is this. Okay. So you wake up, all right, and you've died, and you're in hell, okay? And your sort of like penance is to enter a room constantly, every day. You live this life, and then you enter a room every day. And every single day that you enter this room, you walk in on your parents in the throes of passion. Oh, God. Okay? You have the opportunity to make it end forever and just live if you join in one time.
That's fucked up.
It's fucked up. There's a previous manager at one of my old accounts that was like,
hey, maybe we don't ask that question any longer. Maybe we cut that one from the repertoire.
And I was like, fair enough. Because nobody wants to answer that. No, you know what I mean? It's just, it's a bit, Metal Jones sums it up perfectly. Mm-hmm. Define join in. You get to stir the macaroni and cheese, Nick. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
That's wicked fucked up.
It is fucked up, right? So I let this one go at the table. I tell everybody, like, holy shit, this guy's fucking insane. I will tell you, like, we got to the Big Daddy, the bomb beyond insanity.
Yeah.
And I knew what I was getting into. I've had the bomb too often.
Yeah.
And they've always had it. Nick says, never been a fan of mac and cheese. So he goes and he says, he's like, so we're sitting there and the wings are going around. And I am almost not reacting to any of these. Like, I'm raving over, like, this one's fruitier, or this one's such and such. Every single one of us was just, like, doubled over in pain. Like, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely insane. But it was, what a way to wrap up an absolute, when I say punish your body, that's what I'm talking about. Like, when you get off the water and it's hot garbage and you're like, yeah, I'm going out like an Opus Dei priest. Like, let's go ahead and just fucking enjoy some of these.
Absolutely destroy my guts.
Oh my God.
That's what I deserve. I'm going to go punish myself.
And Sunday morning was bad. Sunday morning was really bad. I did spend the day with my wife. She wanted to go and have breakfast at Pie Bar in Northampton. It's quite literally a bar that sells pies. And
that's awesome.
It's fucking amazing. They have one parking spot though. And around the corner, like, the parking on street is just crazy. When it's 8 up, it's 8 up. There's nothing to do. So I was like, why don't we come back here later? I'm like, we'll go and do whatever. She's like, fuck it, let's go to the dispensary. I was like, okay, let's do it. So we went and we picked up some new additions for the house, and we went to Atkins Farm. We ended up getting pies anyway from Atkins. We just had a great day. It was a nice day hanging out. Went and did a little soft roading. Mm-hmm. I like a little bit of soft roading, and we had a good time. It was pretty good. Then I had trivia last night, and here we are. Now I am planning on getting out a couple days this week at least. I do have a video I want to shoot. I'm dying to do a trout catch and cook. And my buddy Paul is actually. Let's give a little bit, send some positive vibes. Although I've gotten good news from Paul, he's actually at Dana-Farber right now, and he just finished he went in for his surgery to check the growth that they found in his lungs. So he is on his way home. He was like, yeah, it went really smooth. Everything's good. So he's on his way back. We're glad that that's the situation. Mm-hmm. But I sent him the invite and I said, look, you should join me if you're up to it, on Saturday. I'm like, it'll be a nice lazy day on the river. I'm going to be bringing the stove and my kitchen box and all that stuff. And we're just going to roll up and do a little fish cookery. I got this one island in mind that just might be so fucking cool.
Hell yeah.
It just might be a whole lot of fun. So we'll go ahead and do that and see what happens, but should be a good time. But yeah, that's my week there. Why don't we do this, Joe? Why don't we dive right into the headlines?
All right.
And then, we'll go ahead. We'll start there and then we'll hit up segment 2. We'll see how it goes.
Well, Bobby, I've discovered one thing. Maine do not like bass.
No, they don't. I've been saying that for a while. Yeah.
Emergency rule enacted to eliminate bass from Maine Lake. Maine has enacted emergency fishing regulations eliminating all bag and size limits for bass in Washington County, a direct response to the illegal introduction of largemouth bass into West Musquash Lake, one of the state's most treasured native fisheries. Effective September 21st, the rule is part of an aggressive effort by the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to eliminate the invasive predator from the 1,600-acre lake and prevent further damage to its vulnerable populations of native brook trout, landlocked salmon, and round whitefish. We hope this change will encourage anglers to harvest every bass they catch in the region, helping reduce populations and remove the incentive for future illegal stockings, Communications Director for the MDIFW, Mark Laddie, explained to the Maine Wire. West Musquash Lake, nestled deep in Washington County and accessible by only remote dirt roads, is known for its clear, cold water and unique self-sustaining fishery. Unlike many lakes in the region, it is not stocked, making it a vital natural habitat for several rare species. As Wired to Fish reported earlier, this wild balance was thrown into jeopardy in July when a local fishing guide reported that his young son had caught a largemouth bass, a species that has never been documented in the lake. The photo prompted a swift investigation by biologists. He knew largemouth bass weren't supposed to be there, Laddie told us. Once we saw the photo, we got a crew together. Using electro-fishing boats, MDIFW and members of the Passamaquoddy tribe confirmed not only the presence of largemouth bass, but multiple age classes, including likely fry, a clear indication of established reproducing population. Tragically, this could lead to the elimination of that native fishery. Largemouth bass lay more eggs than trout and prey on trout and salmon fry, negatively impacting and potentially eliminating this native fishery. To rule out the possibility of natural migration, MDIFW biologists surveyed nearby waters, including upstream Ori Lake and the outlet stream flowing into Big Lake. They found no largemouth bass in Ori Lake, and physical barriers such as waterfalls and steep bedrock make it virtually impossible for bass to swim upstream from Big Lake, where bass have existed for over 100 years without ever reaching West Musquash. The outlet, the west branch of Big Musquash Stream, features a mile-long stretch of steep waterfalls, narrow ledges, and shallow, fast-moving water that block fish movement for over a century. Smallmouth bass are stronger swimmers, and they haven't been able to get through, Laddie explained. We do not believe that largemouth bass could have made it through the natural barrier. Also ruled out, birds transporting viable eggs or fry. While some research exists on the topic, there is no documented case of that happening in Maine. This evidence points squarely to human involvement. We strongly feel this was an illegal introduction directly into West Musquash. Illegal stocking in Maine is a Class E crime, punishable up to $10,000 in fines and a 10-year license suspension under a new law signed by Governor Janet Mills in June. Violators may also be forced to cover the full cost of fishery mitigation and restoration. So, let's talk about the $6,000 reward for information. To catch a person or people responsible, the Maine Water Service is in partnership with Operation Game Thief, and the Grand Lake Stream Guides Association is offering a $6,000 reward for any information leading to an arrest and conviction. It is the largest reward we have ever had for a fisheries crime. Anyone with information is urged to contact Operation Game Thief at 1-800-ALERT-US or visit MaineOGT.org, and reports can be made anonymous.
So I don't think they're ever going to eradicate those bass from that fishery.
No way.
There's no way. I'm going to go so far. So while you're reading that, Joe, this is something like I've been talking about this with Maine for the past couple of years right now. And I get it. Like a lot of these lakes that are out there are cold water lakes where these cold water species like trout and some char do really well there. The landlocked salmon, like they do really well. And people don't want to lose that because they're afraid that the bass are essentially going to take over the whole thing. They're going to eat all that. And there's all those fish that people want are going to be gone. I completely understand that. But as you're reading this, Joe, I went over to Google and I asked the question, has there ever been an effort to eliminate bass from a lake that has been completely 100% effective? And this is the answer that I got. I'm going to read it to you guys. No. There has not been a completely effective, sustained effort to eliminate bass from a lake. In fact, efforts to eradicate smallmouth bass from Little Moose Lake in the Adirondacks, which involved electrofishing for 20 years, backfired as the bass population doubled due to rapid evolution. It's almost like the conservation like element there of like, oh wow, they can do well now. It's not so crowded. This is with the fish developing traits like faster growth and earlier reproduction to counter the removal efforts. Lessons that have been learned from that: intensified removal. Scientists at Cornell University remove thousands of bass annually through electrofishing. Initial success and then setbacks. The removal efforts seem to lead a population crash initially, but after a few years, the bass population rebounded. The bass population not only recovered, but doubled as the bass evolved faster lifestyle traits, like I mentioned earlier. A strategic shift, these evolutionary changes made the bass less susceptible to removal efforts, essentially allowing them to outmaneuver the scientists' suppression tactics. The reason it says why bass eradication is difficult: bass reproduce so effectively, making a complete eradication a significant challenge. Environmental factors like weather or lake levels can impact the effectiveness of removal efforts, as seen in the Utah lake carp removal project. And of course, the adaptability of the fish themselves. Fish populations are capable of rapid evolution, which can counteract the control efforts. So, like, while I understand why they're doing it, like we see this in moosehead. Smallmouth have been introduced to moosehead, and I've heard conflicting reports. Some say that it was the state that actually introduced them, something to do with like access from a stream or a river that feeds into moosehead, and the fish making their way in there. Other people say that it was illegal, like people just dumping smallmouth in from other fisheries. But like they have catch and kill tournaments, where like you catch them, you live well them, you bleed them, you leave them on the bank, and like the Mainers that are up there will tell you, if you catch them, throw them on the banks and let the eagles take them, you know, and they will, which I'm sure that they will, which is fine. But in the grand scheme of things, I think if they're there, they're there.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. It's, man, I don't see ever being able to stop. And dude, I'm not sold on the fact that it was somebody has introduced them. I'm just not. No. Like, what is the benefit there? You tell me that it's this crazy lake with that you can barely get to. You think some guys, bringing in a cooler of fucking largemouth bass just to stick in there?
Dump them.
Come on.
Yeah. And like for what? So he can be the guy that goes and fishes
because you can't prove that it wasn't birds, ducks, cranes, whatever. It doesn't mean that's not what it is.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I mean,
they couldn't prove OJ didn't commit the murder. Doesn't mean he didn't.
That's the whole thing. It's like I think that like there's probably better resources or better use of the income to bring those resources to. That would be better applied to prevention of introducing other species than actually being able to do anything about it. Because I think that that's just going to be a waste of resources trying to do it. But it's kind of nuts. Nick comments here. He goes, does the northern bass migration align with climate change data? I have no idea. Oh, and Javi chimes in. He goes, I live 10 minutes from Utah Lake. They're paying people per pound of carp that they fish. Crazy. It's like that in Maryland, or at least it was a couple of years ago with snakehead. You could sell snakehead for like $17 a pound.
That's crazy.
You put the incentive there, but like, I don't think it's ever going to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think you're ever going to clear it out. The only way I could see you really just absolutely doing it, drain the lake and start over. Yeah. Like that's the only way you're going to do it. But what kind of problems do you invite doing that?
Oh yeah,
is it really
then
worthwhile?
You're killing that natural fucking population as well.
Oh yeah, you have to start all over again. You know what I mean? Yep. And it's like, do you really want to do that for something? It's crazy. Penny goes, bass are paying eagles to fly them to new lakes. I'm not convinced. I've heard people say that, like, oh yeah, it's the bird population that moves fish from place to place and, everything. And then I've heard arguments against that. I'm like, listen, I don't know one way or the other, but I'm like, there's just fish that appear in spots. And I don't necessarily know that Bubba or Junior are the two that are doing it regularly. I'm not saying that they don't play a role, but, that's crazy, dude. And they get so uptight in Maine. I think it's the same thing with northern pike. I think you're supposed to kill them too.
Really?
That's part of it. Yeah. There was a pond that we had fished, and they had, it was a much smaller, this infinitely smaller body of water than Moosehead. And when Delirious and I had fished up that way, we went, we launched at this one spot, and at the board where they have like all the rules for that pond and parking and all that shit, there was a notice on there, and I want to say that it was pike or pickerel or maybe even both and smallmouth that there was a kill order on out of that body of water. I was like, no shit. Yeah. I released one smallmouth or two smallmouth that I caught, and I'm like, they're here.
Yeah. What can you do?
Oh, what are you going to do? Nick goes, he says, I'm fine with market hunting, fishing for invasives. We've proven it's possible to eliminate a species in that manner before. I don't know. It could simply be some fished on a bass lake and got their eggs on a boat and didn't clean it. They'd have to be fertilized eggs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They would. They'd have to be fertilized eggs. Who knows? Bunch of inbred bass. Well, technically they're all inbred bass. The likelihood is, yeah. Man, that's crazy. Fucking Bubba and Junior. Fucking poaching fish. Dude. Man, that's some wild shit, Joe. Fucking
nuts though.
Who knew? Who the fuck knew? All right, guys, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back over. I got just a tip for you. We're going to talk about what happens when a tournament, either a series or an entire season, when it doesn't go your way, some tips on how you can kind of stay focused, make the best out of that situation, the value that it's got for you, and how you can come out better for it on the other side. So don't go too far. We got much more Jigs and Bigs coming up right after
this.
And perhaps play a little game called Just the Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels. Or, ouch, ouch, you're on my hair.
Okay.
All right. So we're talking about, staying strong after you have a tough tournament, after you have a tough tournament series, after you have maybe the whole season kind of went to shit. And this kind of came to me after I listened to the latest episode of The Whole Angler, when Dave interviewed Fred Rumbanus, that's what it is. And he mentioned in there, he was like, this last season for me it was ridiculous. It was, he wasn't happy with it. And I don't really necessarily catch when tournament anglers will actually say that so often, but it got me thinking, after my last showing in this last slot limit series. Like, a lot of people take this stuff super seriously. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there's an agenda, and I'm coming at this from I fish these tournaments primarily just to engage with the Jigs and Bigs audience, to kind of feel like we're in something together. So for me, win or lose, it really doesn't matter. It's just more for my own personal records as to where I've done the best and how can I outdo that for next time. So if I'm competing with anybody, it's with me and the fish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there are folks that get really, really focused into this. And I did a little bit of looking around to put something together to give you guys a little bit of inspo to hopefully take it to that next level. So, of course, Joe, as always, as I go through this, if there's something that you think I left out or anything, or you want to kind of, jump in on, by all means, go ahead and stop me and jump in. So tournament fishing, obviously, can be one of the most exciting challenges in all of angling. But if we're honest with one another, it can also be one of the most frustrating. Maybe you just finished a tournament or even an entire series and things just didn't go the way that you had hoped or intended on them. The leaderboard, the weigh-in, whatever it is, maybe the numbers just weren't what you were expecting, and the fish didn't bite like you had planned. Maybe they even have you wondering, do I really have what it takes to find success? If you're feeling that way, then you should know that you're certainly not alone. Every single tournament angler, even the professional ones, have also been in that same spot. And the truth is, difficult events are not signs of weakness. They're often the building blocks that can sharpen your skills and prepare you for future success. So the reason why difficult tournaments matter is that each tough day on the water, it teaches you something new about patterns, fish behavior, or even your own decision-making practices. The key is to learn instead of lose, you know? And I think of that as like, take whatever happened, grow from it, apply it in a way, but don't, when I say losing, it's not about the tournament, it's losing your mind or focus, you know? Pressure also creates growth, and handling disappointment now is going to make you stronger for that next event. So keep that in mind. Like, you've been here once, it's like it's not going to keep you down. And all the pros have been there. The anglers that you look up to, the ones that make the headlines, and the ones that, you know, are cashing these big checks that we're hoping to take to that level. Well, they all start out with rough events in small bags, and they kept going, and you can do the same exact thing. And this is a little bit of a guide, a couple of steps of things that you can do to turn what you might be visualizing as a setback right now into strength that can be utilized later on. Review what you've done. Don't regret it. After every single event, go ahead and jot down some notes of what worked and what didn't. Were you able to figure out, was it the choice of lures, location, time of day, conditions? Did you make a decision that maybe was a bad idea? This is also a reason why I really like to record the content while I'm out there, is because the editing process is so enlightening, because I get actual proof of everything that went down and where things are going, and I can look back on it. It really is helpful. Focus on your fundamentals. Things like casting accuracy, boat control, knot strength, line management, those often separate the good from the great. And those are all things that you can control versus Mother Nature and the conditions or anything else. Practice your decision making. When you're out there on the water pre-fishing, force yourself to make quick choices, then stick with them. Confidence comes from that kind of experience. And you want to stay as conditioned as possible. Tournament days can be long and draining, so getting a good night's sleep beforehand is a big deal. Making sure you're hydrated and you know, you've got like you're not starving your ass off on the boat or something. Making sure that you've got some fuel to keep you going, and what you need to stay sharp while you're on the water is a huge player. And then, of course, network and learn. Like, support from your peers is huge. Talk with other anglers. Ask them questions. Share those stories, and you can learn a lot. Those the best fishermen are often students of the sport in total. Tournament fishing isn't just about trophies. It's about growth, challenge, the thrill of pushing yourself to the next level against both the fish and the field. Remember that the best anglers aren't the ones who never struggled. They're the ones who refuse to quit after struggling. So hold your head high. A rough event doesn't define you. It prepares you. Every single cast that you make, every single tough weigh-in or leaderboard that you have to face is shaping you to be the kind of angler that you can who can ultimately compete with anybody. And the next time you launch your boat, remind yourself that you're stronger, smarter, and even hungrier than you were before. And that's how champions are made. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I dig it. I dig it.
Benia says, man, I hate when my bag gets rough. Mm-hmm. That's the right button right there.
Yeah, it's crazy because, you know, everyone what a lot of people don't realize, if they don't look at like the standings and the stats of like whether it's the Elite Series, the MLF, like stuff like that, like there are tournaments where these guys aren't doing, like, these professionals are not pulling in five fish or like good bags. So it happens to everyone. The big thing is, like, if you want to start off getting into it, just start off by doing like a local, you know, club open with a small buy-in, so you kind of get the idea of like how tournaments work, you know, what works best for you with planning and ideas and all that. And then, you know, see how you do what you want to do. And what I didn't do is you want to build up your confidence in tournament angling before you like start jumping into the deep end. That's the biggest thing. If you're trying to get into it, you know, start slow, baby steps, you know, the crawl, walk, run format, and go from there.
You know, and I think you make a really good point. Like, starting on like a smaller tournament or something to kind of get your feet wet is a good thing. And this isn't just a plug for the shit that we do here, but like that's why things like the Scavenger Hunt Open is a great thing to get into, because it lets you kind of put it in this compartment and do it just to try it. The Slot Limit Series is great too, because it really is sort of a level playing field. It really is. Like, I mean, you're going to have different days based on whatever. If I could have had the day that I had in June, that would have been a whole other ball game. Shit, the day I had in May would have been a whole other ball game. That would have been great, you know. But it is what it is, you know. And I don't know, man. I've been one of these people that I think is lucky to just let this stuff kind of roll off my back, you know, and it doesn't get to me so much, but I do for sure see the value in looking back and making the best out of a situation where, like, hey, maybe, you know, it was just rough, you know. It's funny, too, because I was joking Friday night when I got off the water, because I'm pretty sure Binya has said this before, but I've heard it from other people that they're like, oh, a bad practice day makes for a good tournament day. And I have said this in other things, too, like events and things like that. Like a bad dress rehearsal works for, you know, makes for a better show overall. And I genuinely do believe that to a point. Like, that is accurate. But I was joking about it afterwards. Now, Saturday did go better than Friday. It definitely did. They were just the wrong fish, you know? And it's like, sometimes that's just how it is. It is absolutely nuts.
Speaking of tournaments, you want to hear something crazy?
What's that?
You want to hear the results for the Rumble on the River up at the St. Lawrence River?
Oh God. Yeah, I do. What do we got?
So St. Lawrence River. So this the Rumble on the River. It's a tournament put on by Doc's Tackle, which is a big tackle shop up there. And one of the headline sponsors is Fish or Die. So I went up there last year. It's a tournament
that was this weekend.
A tournament that Zach was my partner.
Yeah.
That I unfortunately could not make this year due to my injury. But do you want to hear some of these weights?
Yes, I do. Because we got to talk about the St. Lawrence. I had a conversation with Chris Mellowship.
Yep.
Yeah.
So first place was JP Pelletier, and his co-angler was Travis Manson. Smallmouth Crush.
Oh, all right. Okay. That's why it sounds familiar.
Their lunker was 6 pounds, 8 ounces. And their 5 fish limit was 29 pounds, 15 ounces.
Not bad. That's a big bag. Not bad at all.
Dude, 10th place, we're just going to put this in perspective. So 10th place was Dylan Fogarty, good friend of mine, Bass Open Pro. He got 10th place with 26.3 pounds.
Oh, so
10th place.
Close.
So, dude, it was
shit.
20 pounds was up until where you got into 19s was 34th place.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Binya, buckle up, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, I hope they're chewing like that.
The lunker was 7.8 pounds. For the tournament. A lot of these, I believe, from what I'm hearing, a lot of the fish were grabbed on the lake. So hopefully you guys get a smooth day on the lake, and I got some spots out there.
That would be awesome.
Yep. Take the implication on the big boy water.
Get it all bouncing all crazy like. So I was talking with Chris. With Chris Mellowship. When was this? This must have been Friday night. And ironically, actually, this is right as one of the gummies, or not the gummies, the brownies that I made using the butter that he and Christina had gifted to me, was just starting to kick. But he had sent a picture to Binya of this 35-pound drum that he caught up there, and it's I've actually got the picture right here. It's absolutely enormous. Where is that drum? It might be in the other thing. But he says to me, he's like, yeah. He goes, fishing's been really good up here. He goes, I grabbed a 7-pound, 10-ounce smallie the other day. I'm like, bro, this is gonna be wild. This is gonna be wild.
Yep.
Damn, dude. All right,
that's a guy to see if you can get a couple spots from.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's gonna be a good time, and that's gonna be for my YouTube challenge that I'm doing. I'm trying to make that trip a variety of different videos, and the big one's gonna be the travel vlog. It's gonna be solid, so it should be a real good time, man. Oh, that is wild, though, dude.
If you want to get real crazy, dude.
Yeah.
On the way home, you can stop on the Salmon River because you go right over it.
You're right. You're not wrong. I definitely could. We'll see what happens. I'll have the time to play with
just for a few hours. Bring one rod, set up for that. Just stand in the fucking river for a few minutes.
It's not a terrible idea. I definitely could pull that off because you're right. I'll be coming back because we'll fish that day, but I'm going to have the entire day of Sunday just to travel back. And
you literally drive over it as you're coming back and you see everyone standing in the river.
No shit. I'll have to do that. I'll have to check it out. Bring some brass knuckles though. Cause I know how it gets.
Oh, I'll throw you a couple spots where you won't even see anybody.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that could be good. That could also be a little bit of redemption if things go south. But we're gonna have ourselves a good time. There is a plan over here. Like Benny and I were talking about this. Like St. Lawrence is very like even for him, like Champlain on the Vermont side is much closer. But like we could 100% go and fish these places much more often than we do. And it's just about getting comfortable with them. And, eventually I'd like to see this where there's at least 1 or 2 trips a year that are focused on the St. Lawrence River. But yeah, we might have to get into the lake.
What we need to do too, dude, is fucking like end of October, beginning November, go do a drift boat trip for Steelhead on there.
That would be insane.
Oh, I've done it a couple times. Yeah, it's fun. Wild.
I'll have to check that out. That could be absolutely unbelievable. Freaking wow. I forgot that tournament was this last Saturday too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I tried to forget about it. I was all bummed out.
I'm sure you did, man. That's fucking you didn't pay the entry and everything already, did you?
No.
Did you enter? Okay, wow. No. Yeah,
Zach was probably more bummed out than I was.
I'm sure he was. Yeah, I'm sure he was. In fact, I think Zach was like, "Yeah, he's like, if you guys are going up, I mean, I'm down to meet you. If we can go ahead and pull something off."
I'll make my redemption next year.
Oh hell yeah, dude!
Yeah,
I'm telling you, man, that little fucking Lund is going to be in its element for sure. Up there. It's going to be good. All right. Let's go ahead and do this, guys. We're going to throw over to our interview right now with Matt McNeil from Boston Anglers. And Boston Anglers is, it's one of the most unique plastic companies that's based in New England, and they're getting thrown around the country. We have a great interview. We talk about this. It's pretty quick, but we're going to come around in our third segment, and we're going to talk about some stuff in the live well. Primarily, we're going to be answering some questions and going through some stuff. But we have information about the 300th episode. That's coming up. Not the episode itself. I'm talking about the party that we're throwing to celebrate 300 episodes. So you guys don't go too far. Much more. Here is Matt McNeil from Boston Anglers. We'll see you guys in a bit. Alrighty, guys. Bobby Roast Beef back here. We have a guest in the beef seat this week, and we got a doozy as well. Jigs and Bigs started off as a fishing podcast that's sort of focused on, fishing in New England around here. And we've got a New England, a born and bred New England angler out here that's doing some interesting stuff, some shake-up stuff in the world of bait making. We got Matt McNeil, owner and proprietor of Boston Anglers. Matt, how you doing, dude? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Bobby. Glad to be here.
I think this has been a long time coming. Let's kind of set the stage. You and I, our paths kind of crossed via Instagram, where you were running, and I thought this was absolutely fantastic. You were just kind of had a story post that had crossed my path, and I had been following your profile for a little while because of the attention. Like, I like extreme baits. I like really small baits, and I like really large baits. And you supply both. You really kind of do. And you get it all kind of covered. And a very specific bait. But you had posted something about, tell me what you do for a living. And I explained what I did. And you were like, first thing you said, you go,
"Are you a cop?"
I thought was absolutely.
That's a fact.
It's fucking perfect, man. I was like, that is absolutely beautiful. Because I never thought about it like that way, but I do. I ask drunk people questions and I give them prizes for the most clever. And I guess in some ways that could be seen as being a law enforcement officer. So, but no, I am a lowly bar trivia host. But we got to talking, and you liked my response so much that you sent me one of the monster craws that you've got. One of the 7-inchers, the absolute giants. And I got to tell you, after just inspecting this bait, like, you're doing something that's really, really impressive with these baits. Number one, they are like, the anatomy and the design is so ridiculously on for detail, but also the resources. You're making silicone baits. Before we get into like the intro story of like how you got into fishing, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about like what brought you to silicone. Why silicone versus some of the other plastics that are out there?
So when I first started making baits 10, 12 years ago, I was using plastisol like everybody else.
Yep.
And the smell was atrocious.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah.
So I figured with 2 kids under 5 in the house, there was no way that I was going to get away with putting plastisol in the microwave. So I just went down a rabbit hole and ended up with the specific blend of silicone.
That's awesome. And the nice thing there, if there's, I think the thing that sticks out about using silicone is the durability is just nuts, dude. It's just crazy. Like, there's a cost associated with that, I assume. I assume the resources are up there, but like the durability is absolutely bananas. Like, these things are going to hold up. I have caught a couple on the 4.5-inch craw, and I got to tell you, my favorite way to rig that is on a wobblehead jig.
That seems to be the common way.
Yeah, it is dynamite. I have a 5/0 hook on these 3/4 ounce wobblehead jigs in like rocky areas. Man, it just, dude, they just work. And what's nice is it's buoyant enough where, because of that hinge, I don't know if it's like the buoyancy allows it to look a little bit more natural versus, some of the other stuff that's full of salt and is going to sink the way that it does. But man, you got something going on good there. Thank you. I'm going to stop blowing smoke up your ass right now about your products. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but let's start at the beginning. Tell me the story, Matt, about how you got into fishing, how you were introduced to it. Were you always are you a Mass native?
No, I originally grew up in northern Rhode Island.
Okay, fair enough.
I started fishing. My dad taking me out. We'd go, to the usual spots, Lincoln Woods, or we do a lot of like flounder fishing back in the day. And it just became like most guys, it just became a lifelong obsession.
Which you did, yeah. No, it makes sense. What were you primarily targeting? Like, did you, because I mean, we talk to Rhode Island anglers all the time. There's always that mix of, and I see some of it too on your Instagram, that you dabble with some saltwater. Like, what did you kind of gravitate to most when you first started?
When I first started, it was, freshwater bass,
yep.
Basically whatever I could get on the hook.
For sure.
Once I got my driver's license, it was all stripers all the time. I couldn't get enough of them.
Definitely. You go throw fisticuffs at the canal. It's
funny that you say that. So, at 18, there wasn't as many guys at the canal. So
I feel
you go down there and you'd almost have the whole place to yourself.
I feel like I've heard that before. Now, I have very limited experience fishing the Cape. But I love it. I really do. Like, I basically stop fishing at Memorial Day and I'll pick it back up again or after Labor Day. And it's pretty obvious why, because the traffic changes significantly there. But right. Like, I mean, I've fished a lot of spots out that way. Like I'm crazy about some of the bigger lakes that people like Mashpee, Wakeby, I really like. And there's a few other spots out there that are great. And I recently did my first saltwater trip with Becca over at, with the implication. That was the first splash in the salt. And I asked her, I was like, can I get this boat in the canal? And she's like, you know what? I've never even looked into it. She goes, I don't think so with those tankers and everything. And I was like, yeah, but like there's tankers and shit in St. Clair. I'm like, right. I don't know. I mean, I'd love to at least try, but see, I've never fished the canal, but I feel like that story is something I've heard before, that like back in the day, it wasn't the attraction that it is now. Like now it's almost like culty. It's crazy, you know? How did you discover that craws were like the go-to? Like, how do we get to where we are now?
So I was buying craws off a guy out of California who made a 6-inch craw, super realistic looking.
Oh, okay.
I would buy like 3 or 4 a year. They'd last all season. I'd re-up during the winter.
Yep.
And I'd fish them all, all season long. And then all of a sudden, the Instagram on his behalf just went dead.
Really?
Couldn't get them. Couldn't find them. Had posts up on like Swimbait Universal.
Yeah.
1 or 2 would trickle in here or there. And then, that avenue ended up dying out as well. And I figured, I have the ways and means to come up with something.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just started playing around with wood. Obviously, I'm a cabinet maker. So like I'd play around with wood.
Oh, all right.
And then I have a buddy that has a 3D printer. So he printed something
Yep.
similar to what we are at now. And it was like a jump off point to like, all right, let's try this.
Now, I'm curious. You and I, in our previous discussion, you had mentioned that this was never a bait that you intended on selling. Let's kind of talk about that.
So I got to the point where I was happy with the profile and how the bait itself was moving. And I was fishing it a lot late fall last year, not really getting much. But this spring, I started throwing it in some rivers and whatnot, and I had unbelievable results.
No kidding.
So a few posts on Swimbait Universe with quality fish, and guys started asking for them, and it kind of just took off from there, like 1 or 2, and then it went from 1 or 2 1 week, and then the next week I had a list of like 40 guys long that I was just slowly chipping away at.
No shit. That's freaking badass, man. And that's the thing. Like, you get a little bit of following, and part of that too, I think also, like, I see a lot of the posts that you put up on your socials and stuff, and you're primarily like, you're into the big baits. Like, I see like a lot of big wake baits and stuff, which is, when it comes to big baits, that's my style. Like the big rats and the big, like the big wake baits that, you can run, a few inches under the surface and burn them a little bit, or you can just kind of slowly work them around some weeds and absolutely get hammered. Is that where you tend to shine, or do you kind of like to be all over the spectrum?
No, I'll big baits all the time.
Yeah.
Always a rat, always a gill profile that wakes,
Love it.
and always a large craw, whether it's the 7 or the 5.5. Those are my 3 go-to all the time baits.
No kidding. That's the thing. It's like you get into a zone and you're comfortable there, and that's like, it's game on, dude. That's what it's all about. Let's talk a little bit about the Boston Anglers branding, because I feel like you've got that nailed. Like, and especially with the fact that I feel like, especially for the larger size craws, like the swim bait community, I think has got to be eating this stuff up. Like, how did you get on the branding? Because it's kind of badass. I sort of love it.
So that was another funny thing that we kind of fell into. So the Boston Anglers was supposed to be a 3-man team, which it was. It was a 3-man team, and we were going to fish some carp tournaments.
Gotcha. Oh,
so like the Ed French Open and a few of the other ones. So we came up with the name Boston Carp Anglers, and we started an Instagram page.
Yep. Oh, gotcha.
So that kind of died off. A couple of the guys didn't want to travel, so I just kind of had the page still active.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So I donated to Swim Bait Culture for his autism raffle. I donated 3 baits, and he kind of gave it the name Boston Anglers Craws. So at that point, I was like, all right, well, here's another thing. I guess we just go with it.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it is. Those like the examples right there in front of you, and it's like, opportunity knocks. You got to take it.
Right.
So
it's kind of another thing that kind of just evolved out of nothing, and here it is today.
That's awesome, man. It is absolutely freaking awesome. So let's talk about like your primary confidence baits. I think you kind of touched on them already, but you mentioned rats, you mentioned gill profile wake baits, and obviously craws. Let's throw some specifics. What are some of your favorites?
My go-to rat, hands down, is the one-piece elude zombie in a pink color. That is my absolute confidence bait, whether you're waking it, cranking it down, open water, cover, you name it.
Yep.
That is my go-to bait.
What's the combo you throw that on? I'm just curious because that's like right in line with like a lot of the wake baits that I throw. I'm just curious what the setup that you're throwing that on.
I'm throwing that on a 8-foot Waterman's Custom, medium heavy, 1 to 4 ounce, and Dial Alexa 300 with 20-pound copoly.
So that's a sweet freaking setup right there, man. That's nice. That's a real nice rod. 8-footer. You must be able to toss that rat for a freaking country mile.
Oh yeah, it goes. It goes.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I do love her. And there's something about those colors too. Like you said, pink. Like some of my favorite colors are the ones that are really just really kind of almost seem unnatural, but at the same time are highly effective. You know,
Right.
I'm throwing a sack pig rat right now, and I forget the name of the color. I want to say it's toxic something, and it is the craziest color pattern of anything I've ever thrown. But it's absolutely a freaking beaut, and I've thrown a few fish on that sucker, and it's I absolutely freaking love it. Now, let's talk about your like, have you done any traveling outside of New England to fish, and what are some of the bucket list areas that you want to hit if you haven't already?
I mainly stick to New England. I do a lot of traveling for work.
Gotcha.
Some of the places I definitely want to hit. Some of the lakes in Texas. I have a job coming up in Texas. I want to do some fishing down there.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going out to San Diego in March, so I'm going to do some fishing out there as well.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. I think you'll do pretty well out there too.
So a few guys from Waterman's Custom and Salty Bastards who are on Instagram invited me out to the Pacific Coast Sport Fishing Show. So I'm going to have a table out there, whether it's with them or on my own, selling craws, and hopefully getting my name out there more than it is and doing some spotty fishing.
That's badass, dude. Let's talk about, like, when you're fishing, are you, what's the ratio of, like, the amount of fishing on the water versus bank fishing? Like, what do you lean to primarily? And when you are on the water, what are you throwing, what are you rocking for a rig?
So when I'm on the water, I have the Pelican Power, the 110 with the trolling motor on it. That's my go-to. But work schedule, kids, mostly just short pounding lately, getting out for an hour here or there when I can and just making the most of it. Exactly.
No, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And, that's the thing about like where we're based. Like, there's options all over the place. Like, it can be a little bit of a struggle sometimes, depending on like where you are, like specifically in the state, as far as finding some like, decent bank fishing, but it's out there. Like, especially in the urban areas, if you're into it, like, and you're willing to put the work in, you can find some really, really great spots. I'm looking at your Instagram right now, man. And I'm looking at some of the rigging options on some of these larger craws. And I came across this one that is on a pitching jig, rather. And this post was a few months ago. And like, I'm telling you, these baits, these craws are way more versatile, I think, than maybe someone might think right off the rip. You know what I mean? Like, because of the difference in size, there's a lot folks can do with it. Let's talk about the baits a little bit. Talk about like the development and everything. How we got to something that's so unique.
All right, so I started off with the 7-inch, and I was basically just rigging that on a weighted or unweighted 10-aught beast hook, and just basically either dragging it or jigging it. Then that evolved into the 4.5, which can be used many ways. You can put it on the wobble head. You can cut it down a little and put it on a skirted jig.
Yep.
And then somebody had showed me that punching rig, and that was like a game changer. Once I saw that, I was like, it's almost limitless the way that you choose to rig it.
It really is. And like, that's the nice thing is about the shape of that plastic is that for punching, it lends itself perfectly, because especially if you leave it whole, it's a slender shape with craws that have with claws that have like just enough motion. So like, it's going to get down there pretty quick. It's going to get through that crap and almost like a torpedo. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
absolutely.
But it's so lifelike, that if you've got clear water, like it's going to look like something natural. It's going to look like actual forage.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a lot of the reason why I didn't put an actual tail on it.
Mm-hmm.
Was I wanted that like slender shape, almost tapering to a point.
Yep.
So that it could just drop through grass, through pads. The tail wasn't going to get hung up.
Yep.
And pull it in one way or another. I mean, if it was falling straight down, that profile would just let it go straight down.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely see it. In fact, I'm leaving. I was on Instagram Live earlier today. You popped in there, and I'm going to be out pre-fishing for the slot limit tournament, and I've got a couple of your craws rigged that I'm going to see if they want them, and if I can put a pattern together, they're going to be on for tomorrow. Fingers crossed, man. I have no idea what the hell's going to happen tomorrow. This weather this week really messed things up. But hey, that's New England, Let's talk about it. Do you do any tournaments otherwise? And what's your relationship there to tournaments to, I hate using the term, but it does fit, tournaments versus fun fishing?
I've never done a bass fishing tournament. Couple carp derbies here and there. But for the most part, it's just, get out there, head change, some peace and quiet.
For sure.
And hopefully land a few big ones. No,
definitely, man. There is some stuff in your branding that would lead one to think that you're a relatively big supporter of the fish whistle movement, the fish whistle culture, if you will. What is
there's a little bit of that.
A little bit. If you're comfortable sharing, what's your preferred fish whistle method?
I prefer a vape myself.
Okay, fair enough. See, I'm with you. I 100%. I think you cannot beat the convenience and like the simplicity of a quality cart.
Absolutely.
I agree.
One of our local brands makes a bomb pop flavored disposable, and that's been my go-to lately.
I've heard of that. That's badass. No, I am a big fan. I started taking out some clients as sort of a Sherpa on these fish whistle guided trips. Folks that like they've never fished but they're maybe into the cannabis industry or something like that. And I've started bringing some folks out, and I bring out the chill steel pipes. It's a little bit extra when we do this, but I brought out like the Yeti bong and all that stuff. And once I tell them, I'm like, yep, once you catch fish, you've earned yourself a bong rip, and we can go from there.
That's it.
And it's awesome. It. And people say like this to me all the time. They're just like, you're going to go out there with people and stay totally sober while they just get ripped and fish. And I was like,
absolutely I am.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the service I'm offering here is, and they don't have to. In fact, one of the very first folks I ever brought out for one of these trips, it was this couple, and they're amazing. And she caught her first fish ever, period. It was a small largemouth. And I was like, yeah, do you want to hold it? Now there's a YouTube video of this. You can go watch this. And there's a point where I go to hand it to her, and I explain to her how to lip a bass, and I go to hand it to her, and as she goes to reach for it, she retches audibly. And she's like, oh my God. I laughed my ass off. I made it a trivia buzzer, and they were there last night, and that was the buzzer that they used. So I'm like, okay. It all goes full circle with me. All of it.
That's it. The fish don't bite unless you blow the fish whistle. So
no, that's what I'm saying.
You always got to have that handy.
And there is a little bit of lore. It's funny because I like when it comes to like the fish whistle, I am one of those folks that like I use it as a game. It's a reward. Once I get on fish, I've earned a rip. And I'm not like every fish I catch, because I'm not looking to fall out of the boat, I'll keep score, and I'll be like, I've earned this many more or whatever. And when I'm ready, I'll take another one. But like but there are folks who are really superstitious, and they're just like, get on the water, or they're not biting. It's time to hit the fish whistle, and then we'll dial them in.
Right. It's usually like on my way there, a couple rips.
Yep.
And then on the way back, a few rips more, and
nothing wrong with that.
That's it.
Nothing wrong with that. I don't have to work tonight, so while I'm on the boat, I will be for sure indulging. God, I hope I can put something together. I have not. Man, this is going to be a mess. So Let's shift gears a little bit. Now, I'm curious because I fish out your way periodically. I make my way out there as often as I can. I'm always looking for spots that are good to grab a bite to eat, either after, a really great day to kind of celebrate or as a way to just kind of punish my body if it's been terrible. What are some of the best like mom and pops in your area that you're going to do either for a late breakfast or an early lunch or wait, you fish at night. So yeah, so like for breakfast.
So there's the Knotty Pine, great little mom and pop spot.
Yeah.
That's out by the Charles River, which I fish a lot.
Yep.
That's usually my go-to. If they're open,
yeah,
I'm stopping there.
There you go. All right. And I think I've heard somebody might have mentioned that to me too previously. It might have been Todd actually. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greasy Spoon, great spot.
It's the best. It's the best. And I should fool around. That's the Charles is one spot I've never fished before. And just to keep things interesting, I think that's probably going to be on the radar at one point or another. But we'll figure all of that out. This is awesome.
A lot of options.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, tons of options. So let's talk a little bit more about like Boston anglers. Like you didn't intend to be doing this, but here we are, and to the point now where you've got this design available in 4 different sizes now?
Yes, sir. We have 4 sizes from 7 to 3 inches.
That's awesome. So when people are saying like, you get anglers that are thinking that, I gotta match, obviously match the hatch, match the size profile. This well-engineered craw is something that somebody can get in whatever size profile that they need for the most part. And I've seen pictures where folks are using like the big ones, even is saltwater fishing as well. Let's be honest. It's like a small lobster.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, without a doubt. I mean, the 7 I find to be the most versatile bait, whether you're fishing salt, like you said, the salt. Mm-hmm. I had a buddy take it out on a cod trip, trying to catch a cod on it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, guys are getting stripers on them. They're getting largemouth on them. It's intimidating.
Yeah, I think
just to pull it out of the package and say, all right, I'm going to throw this bait.
Yep.
Very intimidating. But once you land one on it, it really starts to, you get the confidence.
And I think that's exactly it. You just need to start landing fish on that presentation. Give it a go. Now there's a paragraph specifically on your website that you got a great page here. And if people are looking for it, there's a whole breakdown of the anatomy and performance, for these crawfish baits. And it goes through, the anatomical breakdown, but the silicone, I can't get over this. I think that there is something about the silicone because there are there's a handful of other plastic brands that I think are hip to this, but I think you're going to see more of this eventually. And the fact that you're already ahead of the game a little bit, Matt, is huge. But you're using a proprietary silicone blend, and it's got basically the ideal combination of durability, flexibility, and buoyancy, soft enough to provide a natural, unrestricted action, but strong enough to withstand multiple bites and heavy cover. And let's be honest, like some of these when people look at plastics, like that 7-inch bait, that's not that's a bit of an investment for some folks. But you got to remind yourself, folks, that this is not your typical plastisol plastic that's going to get ripped up that way. This is infinitely more durable and will hold up to significantly more than your average conventional soft plastic bait. And if you're, a smallie angler like I am, that 3-inch and 4-inch are an amazing, option to go for. Fishing in rocky areas on like a football head jig or a wobble head is fantastic, or Texas rigged. And the one rigging I haven't tried yet, and I'm going to be trying it today, is that swim bait hook on the 7.
Yeah.
I think I've got a 10-aught that I'm using on it. We'll see how it goes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. I went with a 10-aught with like a 1/4 ounce weight just to kind of like have it fall the right way. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting.
I like having the weight on when I'm fishing the 7, the weight on the 10-aught hook seems to give it more of that tail downfall.
Mm-hmm.
So it drifts down more. The weight's pulling it tail down.
Yep.
When it finally comes to rest, it's in that claws up defensive position.
That's what I was thinking.
And it's like meant to be almost.
That's perfect. Yeah, I got a couple of big 10-aught hooks, and I'm like, yeah, let's see what we can do. We'll see if we can make this happen. I'm looking forward to it. Let's talk about the future of Boston Anglers. Like, where would you like to see this go in like the next 10 years? Not even 10 years, like the next 5 years.
We have a few things in the works.
Nice.
I recently did a collaboration with Lazy Bait Co. So we're coming out with a hardtail, soft body craw.
Oh,
so it'll
really?
be almost like a hybrid. So the tail will have two options. You can get it with or without the hook. So it'll be like a hybrid style.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be paired up with the 5.5. And then we have a few swim baits in the making right now. One of them real big, 10-inch, 4-ounce. It's going to be all silicone.
Yep.
And got a few other things in the works. So we're going to deviate from the craws a little bit.
Yep.
I think we got that pretty much locked in. But yeah, we're going to branch out and do a few other things.
That's awesome, man. And I love to see like collaboration. That's where like innovation really sort of comes from. You know, that hybrid bait sounds unbelievable, and I'm sure these silicone swim baits are going to absolutely slap. I don't know how deep into it you want to get. Are you looking at doing like a line through? Or are you doing something that you'll rig on a jig head, or on a swim bait hook?
It's going to be on a swim bait hook. It's going to be on a 14-aught BKK weighted swim bait hook.
Nice.
I figured go big or go home, like either big bass, stripers. I still do a lot of striper fishing, not as much as I'd like to, but I like to run the jetties now instead of being in the surf. So throwing big swim baits, I figured that'll entice a striper or two.
Oh, definitely, man. Definitely. No, that is absolutely badass. Well, Matt, this is absolutely great, dude. Also, we should mention that we've been talking this week about the Jigs and Bigs 300th episode, and you are one of the first brands that had gotten involved as far as being a prize sponsor. So we're glad to have you on. So if you guys are interested in some Boston Anglers craws and want to have an opportunity to win them, well, it's pretty easy. Details are going to be coming soon about the 300th episode, and there's a nice little pack that's put together, a little variety pack that's available from Boston Anglers, and you can have a shot at winning these. You don't even have to be at the actual event because we're going to be live streaming the event as well for folks all over the place. So all you got to do is get your ticket. And the ticket info will be coming soon. We got to kind of line a few things up and figure out how we're going to work this. But the tentative date right now is January the 24th. We'll have full confirmation soon. And there's lots of other brands, but Boston Angler is going to be in on this. And you could win something absolutely fantastic from them. Let's talk about like the future for Boston Anglers in terms of like availability. Are you looking to continue the model of being direct to consumer, or are you exploring the option of putting your products in tackle shops at some point?
So I have, there's a few select size craws. The 3 and the 4.5 are in a couple shops out in California right now.
Oh, that's freaking cool. Nice.
Yeah, so those guys use them a lot for the spotties. So yeah, I have him in a shop out there. He also does a monthly subscription box where he includes a combo pack in that box. So you can get them through Waterman's Customs, directly through my website, or just hit me up with a DM and we'll go from there.
Awesome.
I'm not limited to what's on the website. If you want a custom color, I'm all about it. And you send me a picture of a big fish, I'll send you more baits. That's
awesome. That is absolutely freaking awesome, man. Matt, this is really, really great. Do me a favor. Let folks know where they can find you. If they have any questions or anything, obviously, if they want to see these baits, and if you have any social media folks that you're collaborating with that are throwing your baits and you want to kind of give some shout outs or something, this is your opportunity to promote yourself a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at boston.anglers, on the web at bostonanglers.com. Huge shout out. Salty Bastards have made this thing possible. They've They've accepted me in their community and pushed my product since the day we met. So big shout out to Salty Bastards, Waterman Custom, and everybody that buys a bait. I can't thank you enough. Like I said, I always have it going. You buy a bait, I send you a message. Send me a picture with a big fish. I'll send you free bait. It's just how it works.
That's awesome, man. It's awesome. You gotta, that's they're supporting you by giving you some materials to market, showing that the proof is in the pudding. That is badass, dude. I love it. I hope nothing but the absolute best for you, Matt. This is a good endeavor. You've got a great product, and I'm excited to see some of the newer stuff that you've got coming along too. This is going to be absolutely awesome. And you should enter the Slot Limit series before tonight ends, and get your first bass tournament out of the way. Break it down.
That's it, dude. I just got to break the ice sometime. Right?
I know. I hear you, man. I definitely hear you. You got a catch board?
I do, yeah.
You do? Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. You should definitely jump on this. So just for if you're not sure how it works, the slot limit is 12 to 17 inches, and the reason why we chose that is because it's kind of like the perfect size for anybody in the country to be able to be competitive. You've got some pics on your Instagram with some fish that are significantly larger than 17 inches. But that is a nice problem to have. You know what I'm saying? So if
I've been blessed the last couple of weeks. I went on a tear starting 2 weeks ago, and it hasn't stopped yet. So fingers crossed it keeps up for a few more weeks. And I will definitely be looking into the slot limit tournament.
Hell yeah, man. It's going to be good stuff. Well, all right, Matt. Thanks so much, buddy. We're going to have this episode's going to drop on Tuesday. It's going to be an immediate turnaround as soon as we record the next one or the main show. This is going to be included right in there. So we'll tag you in all that. I'll send you some artwork, or I'll send you the artwork if you want to share that on your socials. Do me a favor, though. Send me a picture of you holding an absolute tank, and we'll use it for the cover artwork.
Will do. Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. It's been a long time coming. I know we've been trying to do this for a few weeks now. I can't thank you enough for your support. Also, Bobby, goes a long way. Jigs and Bigs has always been a supporter of everything I post. I can't thank you enough.
Man, I appreciate that. I really do. And that's what we're all about. This is all about community, and we've been doing it for a little while. We've been doing it over 5 years now. I feel like we've established a pretty good community. We're glad to have you be a part of it, man.
Thank you. And the 300th episode event, I think I'll make my way to Springfield.
Hell yeah.
Baits, give out some more baits on top of what we're throwing in, and we'll just have a good time.
It's going to be a blast. We had a great time. What was it? 4 years ago when we did the 100th episode at this spot. Like, you're going to love it, man. You're going to love it. It's a real good time, man. Sounds great, Matt.
Excellent.
I got to tie up a couple of loose ends and then go hit the water. But yeah, we will be in touch. Thanks so much, man, for being a part of the show. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Bobby.
Take care now, bud.
Take care.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Hi there. Welcome to the Live Well, where we crack open a ramp beer and attempt to answer all of your burning questions.
Man, I love a ramp beer. I love a ramp beer. There's nothing better than an ice cold beer when you get back to the ramp after you've just had your ass handed to yourself.
Nothing like it.
You're like,
I can't drink beer starting tonight. I can't drink until after my fucking surgery.
Oh, after the surgery. God. Well, I can only imagine. My mind would picture it as like, you go and you crack one, you go to take a sip, and it's like Airplane when the guy's like, oh yeah, I've had a drinking problem since Nam, and he's like fucking just dumping fucking drinks in his face.
I'm gonna have, as soon as I get out of recovery, I'm gonna have Meg crack one for me right there in the recovery room.
Nice. There you go. Just funnel them. Just bam. Oh my goodness. So we got a good one. We're gonna go through these calls. We're gonna answer some questions, but on the back end of this, we are gonna talk a little bit about the 300th episode, and we have a little bit of information to go over that. I'm gonna tease a couple of things, and we'll make things happen. Let's go ahead, and I do love this. I gotta say this. Nick goes, "It ain't tonight yet."
Facts.
That's true.
Facts.
I had a good, healthy liquid breakfast and a liquid lunch, so we're good. I didn't drink last night, but I was, I slept right through the evening. So let's go ahead. We're gonna get this one out right away. We're gonna jump in and we're gonna hear from you him, you love him.
Hey, it's Eli with a question for the live well. Is there ever been a technique or like a different rig or lure, all that you have been kind of weary of at first? Works. I don't know if I'll adopt it. But then when you tried it, you're like, wait a second, that's the juice. Yeah. Have a great day. Bye.
100%. I think everybody has felt this way one way or another. What's that bait for you, Joe?
Drop shotting.
Drop shotting, really?
Mm-hmm. I never used to do it too often. That's a few years ago.
No shit.
When I started learning how to use it correctly and the right times and places to do it. Now it's my go-to up north, like the St. Lawrence and even some places here to get those. I very rarely do I do it for largemouth, but for smallies, yeah, I've done really well with it. I caught my PBs doing it. So
drop shotting was one of those things where I never this was at a point where I had known or been aware of the effectiveness of it.
Sure.
It's just that I had so many questions about how to apply it. And I was always under the impression you wanted to be vertical fishing and you didn't want to fish it around any kind of cover and all that sort of stuff. And then the more research I did, I was like, no wonder why this works so well, because it is relatively adaptable. It really is. Mm-hmm. For me, it's a jig. When I first started fishing, I would look at a bass jig, a traditional bass jig with a skirt, and I would be like, how in the world does this thing look like anything, that it's intended to be? How does this look anything like a bait fish, a crawfish? It's like a koosh ball. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep.
So I had gone back and forth and was like, how on earth does this all play? What's the deal? And eventually it was one of those things where I had to start just throwing them to get more, because I was intrigued. I'm like, when it comes to fishing the bottom, of course, this makes sense. And fishing heavy cover, because I would find these laydowns and just down trees or stumps or, big rocks or something like that, or over near dams where you have rubble that's at the bottom and it's dicey. You need something that can handle all that. So for me, it was just once I started to kind of just push myself to do it, I was like, this is the juice. And now I've got all that. So for me, it was definitely a jig for sure. Mm. That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good question, Eli. I like that one. That's a decent one. So now this one comes from Javi. And Javi's in the chat.
Bobby Roast Beef and Joe fucking Brown. What's up, guys? My name's Javi. I have a question for the Eli Self segment. I mean, the live well. This question came up to me after watching one of Brian Latimer's YouTube videos where he pretty much talks about rod actions and powers being, quote, fake. And he just pretty much talks about how there's not a standardized method for rod power and actions. And they're essentially made up by the rod manufacturers. So my question is, do you guys think that there should be a standard for all rod manufacturers to use, or to have all the rods be the same rod power and action as other companies? For example, and I don't know anything about rod manufacturing, but if a rod starts bending at 8 inches to the tip or from the tip, that's considered a fast or an extra fast or whatever. Do you guys think there should be a standard that all rod manufacturers should pretty much use, to that way every single rod company has the same rod power and action and people don't get confused? Yeah, that's my question. I know it's not the best way I could have put it into words, but yeah. Thanks, guys.
I think he nailed that. I think that's exactly the right way to put it. In fact, he didn't even flub that I caught the power versus action. Like a lot of times people will use those ratings and say, oh, I'm using a medium action. And you're like, no, it's a medium power. So to answer this question, like I want to say this, like I love B-Lat. I love his content. But saying that like all like rod powers and actions are fake that's a headline. That's clickbait. Like it's not that they're fake. These are variables that are real things. You know what I mean? And I'm sure he probably, I know the video he's talking about. I didn't watch the video. I should. But I have a feeling like he probably clarified that right off the rip. Like these are things, but there is no standardized anything. And I understand the challenges. I do think that there should be. Like, that's my opinion. I think it would make the selection guide a little bit easier for an angler. And maybe it's not the rod manufacturers. Maybe it's a retailer or an outside group that it puts this information in retailers' hands that says, look, this is a rod here. This is the way it behaves. And it's at this length. You know, and there's maybe a graph or some type of some indication that like this is the action, and within this window of action, we consider that to be fast. More, you know, further down or a wider from that range, we consider that to be moderate fast. And I don't know that it's likely we're ever going to see that, but it would certainly make the shopping for new rods much, much easier. What do you think, Joe?
I think a little bit differently on it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the comments, B-Lat, mate, I love B-Lat, by the way.
Yeah.
I think that might have been a little bit of clickbait because obviously a medium rod is different than a heavy rod. It's different from an extra heavy, you know,
but one brand to the other
like
might
that's
be.
That's not fake. Like that's, you know, there's a lot more that goes into it than just a word. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the action. You know, it obviously, you know, fast, moderate, like, you know, it all comes down to essentially, like you said, where the rod begins and ends bending, or taking that power, that load. What I do agree on, I've talked about it on this show before, is when they give you like, oh, this is a specifically for a jig. This rod is only for, and they don't even name like a power or anything, like, oh, this is only a frog rod. Like, I think that's bullshit. That's just, that's just a whatever, a medium fucking, or a heavy, you know, fast rod that they're just like, oh, and that is, you know, marketing just to get people to buy that rod because of whatever. Or
they list like every technique.
Sure.
That's even worse.
Yeah, exactly. It's that I don't agree with. And I've been suckered into it. You know, I've done it, you know, like I have a couple 6th Sense rods that are the only place where it's like I could see it is when you get into the glass rods for cranking.
Yeah.
You know, but even then it's just kind of like, but where I disagree is I don't think there should be a standardized thing out there because again, I'm kind of that person that's like, fuck the system. I want to do things the way I'm going to do it. And it keeps companies and businesses differentiated. Like Megabass does their way, 6th Sense does their way, you know,
Dobbins famously does things their own way.
Exactly. Yep. Where Dobbins and Megabass kind of do something similar, and 6th Sense, Arc, all them do it in a more similar way together. No, I don't think there should be any kind of standardized thing. I think it's just you just got to kind of, that's your opportunity to do the research you should be doing on that rod anyway.
Benny puts in here, he makes a good comment. He goes, if you make it a standard, then there's no need to have different brands. I don't think so. I don't necessarily agree with that. And here's why. Because I think by having a standard, right, you would have a comparable way of looking to whatever product a a rod maker is releasing. So you look at, like, I'll use Dobbins as an example, because I have always heard, I've never thrown a Dobbins rod in my life, but I've always heard from people that Dobbins rods tend to run a little bit lighter than they are rated for. So their medium heavies are a little bit, closer to a medium power. Their fast action is a little bit more moderate than another fast, rod that's out there. But again, they don't call them necessarily by the power and action. There's a number system. And that number system, I believe, equates to like the length and the power that's rated to. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But my whole thing is that if you had a standard, even better would be if it was a third party. Like, how did this rank on the Joe Brown rod rating system? Like, this rod is this is what it's rated for. This is what they're saying. But we notice that it flexes in this area. So we're going to give it a such and such for action, a score of this. We're going to give it a rating of this power based on the specs that's thrown out there. And I'm thinking that if you were able to give the information to the shopper, you would probably sell more rods, because people would say like, oh, so this Dobbins rod is actually a little bit more comparable to a rod like this. And you're not comparing apples to oranges, Like, you could kind of dial it in and say, like, so what am I looking for? And I think that's the most difficult part when you're buying a rod, is like, what are you going to use this for? Because there's a good chunk of the population that's like,
fishing.
And that's as far as it goes. You know what I mean? But like, if I had this instance on the boat where I was throwing around a finesse swim bait, right? A 3-inch finesse swim bait. And I was throwing it really shallow. So I actually had put down my moving bait rod and throwing it with a 1/4 ounce head. And I was throwing it with an 1/8 ounce jig head on my, on my bait finesse, right? Which is a 6-foot light, moderate fast, right? And it's a little bit more moderate. I should say my other combo, my conventional size combo, is a medium heavy, moderate fast. And the reason why I like that for moving baits is because then I'm not ripping that bait away from the fish's mouth. Tom was behind me, and he was throwing a paddle tail swim bait. I think a 3-inch as well. Actually, I think I had given him either a Kitech or I think it was maybe an HH Customs guppy, a 3-inch guppy. And he was throwing this on like an 1/8 ounce head. And he's like, I can feel the bites. I'm just not connecting. And I was like, I just gave him that, because I was actually fishing the drop shot at this point. I gave him my bait finesse rod. I was like, throw this. And I think it was like 2 or 3 casts later, he had fish in hand. And I'm like, and it's the properties of that rod, the fact that more of that tip it almost dumbs it down, so that when you feel that strike, there's a little delay before that bait is impacted, because more of that rod has to move, and it's just like, it's just, you hear that about like folks like ripping baits from fish's mouths and stuff like that. And it was like, it's just one of those things. And it's not about like no, I was right. It's more of a, just know what it is that you're what you need that rod to do for a specific job. I don't know. Let's go through some of these comments, because this is pretty good. These are kind of all over the place. So Benny goes, the difference in actions is what makes people want to buy Dobbins versus 6 Sense versus Ugly Stick. Okay. Javi says, I just want my Dobbins medium moderate fast to feel like the same as a Daiwa medium moderate heavy fast. It'd make it easier to buy rods, especially online, when you can't even feel the rods before. Bingo. Because like when you can hold the rod in hand, it tells you a whole lot more. You know what I mean? Even if you're pressing the tip up against the carpet and you're like, yeah, that is much faster. That's going to load up differently. Something like that. You can pay attention. You get actual like real world physical connection with that. It helps. And then Todd says, he goes, the variation from the standard would be a market. Nick says Dobbins runs run light and their apparel runs small. Well, yeah, I don't know about that. Most apparel runs small to me. You know what I mean? We're working on it though. He goes, I didn't fit in an XL. And then he chimes in. He says, how does this rod rate and compare to Tackle Warehouse rod rating system? I've never even looked into that. I don't think I've ever bought a rod from Tackle Warehouse. What I'm thinking of is I think it was Andrew Hayes. I think he did a video where he took a bunch of different rods and then he made a graph and put them in the same, like a vise that held them. And he put the same weight on each of these rods that were rated. And you could see the varying levels of where the bend actually started to occur, how far down it went, and then also like how much weight it took to make it bend there. So I think that what that does, and I want to say that like maybe he used like shadows or something like that, and then drew lines to show the differences. And I think that Javi nailed it. He's like, I want my Dobbins medium, moderate, heavy, fast. Medium, moderate, heavy, fast. That's a lot going on, right? That's two different rods. He goes, I'm going to put it on screen so I don't lose it again. He goes, to feel the same as my Daiwa medium, moderate, heavy, fast. So again, that's a perfect example of like, that's two different rods. Medium and heavy are two different powers. Moderate and fast are two different actions, but moderate fast is one action. It's like kind of more in the middle. But I understand what he's saying there, because it would make it easier to know like, oh, I have to make a switch, or I want to try this rod. I'm replacing such and such. Is this the move? And it gives you an idea of how that rod's going to behave. I don't know. I definitely see where you're like, you don't think there needs to be a standard. But I do think that there is an audience that would benefit from a standard significantly.
Sure.
And I think that you would sell more rods. I think if you had more information, or people were just like, yeah, you could do this. And also I think by doing that, you would eliminate that branding of like technique specific stuff where it's like, oh, this is a jerkbait rod, or this is a shaky head square bill, blah, like they list every bait. It drives me nuts. I'm going to look, Nick, into that Tackle Warehouse. Oh, he chimes in. He goes, just as an example, a retailer needs to develop a data system to graph and then let us compare. I think it gets down to the visual aid, creating some type of a graph and saying, where does it rate? Even if you just put a couple of arrows and you're like, because it's also going to like, it's also tough because you can't measure a 7.3 rod to a 7-foot rod, because that length is going to change some of the variables, So something to keep in mind, but I thought it was very, very curious, but that's a good question. Let us know, guys. If you're listening on Spotify, drop a comment and let us know what you think. Should there be some kind of a standardized system for rating rods as far as actions and powers go in order to streamline the online shopper's experience? Or do you think like, hey, just let it fly because there is no standard and don't fix it if it ain't broke, All right. We're going to go and we're going to listen to Kevin's message first, and then we're going to dive into the Pay Lake gutter. Here we go.
Hey, Bobby and Joe. It's Kevin from Biohazard Batson. Got a quick one for the live well. I know it's a little premature for this, but it popped in my head after you guys were talking about the fall fishing and stuff in the last episode. I go up to Syracuse, follow late fall and stuff. I follow the Highway 81, and it follows a river that goes up there. And I always want to bring my kayak and like stop and go fishing. And it does have dams and stuff throughout the way, which is fine. But I noticed last year when I was going up there, they dropped the water down like really fucking low during like I think late October. Like it had to have been like a 10-foot difference. What happens with the fish when that shit happens when they drop the water? Because there's another lake in Rhode Island that I go to in early November, and they drop the water down like 5 feet or so, and it changes the whole landscape of the lake. And how does this affect the fish and or the fishing? So that's my question for the live well, and hear from you guys later.
That I'm going to actually look this up just to see, because I've never even considered this.
Yeah, I've done a little research into it in the past because, they drain the lakes around here so much during the winter.
I have a feeling that a lot of that's going to be like, it's going to depend on the body of water and how much that they've dropped it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, because if it's one of these things where they're draining the fucker for like whatever reason, then you're going to end up with a very dead fish population unless you're doing something about it to harvest them and move them or whatever it might be. But so, Joe, you've done some research. You go ahead and chime in.
So basically what I've seen is, they do it for various reasons around here. Everything from, allowing the population around the lake to get their docks out easier to, killing invasive vegetation. But they're what they do ensure is that there are deep pockets within the water system to allow the fish to go into that are still going to hold plenty of oxygen. But there's a difference, but like you said, there's a difference between draining a lake and there's a difference between draining down a lake.
Yeah.
Like you said, the draining a lake is for whatever reason, they got to go completely down. That's where you're going to get a lot of fish kill. When they're drawing it down, they do the research to ensure that the fish population has pockets of deep water to go to that will be oxygenated plentifully. And, that's kind of where you go. That's why you see like around here, these lakes that get drained down and, you have a lot of people that hover around certain areas, ice fishing, because that's where the fish population ends up going.
They're in those deeper pockets, which makes sense. Yep. I will say this, like, I can't think it's possible that does not stress out the fish. Sure. So the fishing may change. You could find that they get shut down a little bit more because of whatever, or they might become more opportunistic because there's that much more of a population where they want to get whatever they can as far as some kind of food. Having less area to forage, obviously that's going to weigh into it. They might get reduced feeding. I don't know. It's just interesting. I'd love to actually see something live, like put out where, and just document it like that. But that's a good question.
The drawdowns, it's not like it's like an immediate thing. It takes, days and weeks, it's not like
they come down real gradual.
It's very gradual. I know what river he's talking about on 81 there. Yep. I want to, for some reason, the Mohawk River keeps coming to mind. I think that's what it is because I follow it as well. I know exactly what he's talking, but it's like there's a dam like every fucking 3 miles. It seems like where they draw it up and down. But there's actually a rest stop that's like right on it, and I've always been like, man, I'm gonna throw because I always have the boat. And I was gonna go grab a rod once and I went down to the check and it was like absolutely no fishing for whatever reason. So
really?
I did not do. I was going to do it right at the rest stop, dude. I didn't give a shit,
absolutely.
But no, there's signs everywhere.
Huh. That shit's fucking wild, man. That's a really good question. I would be really interested to see how that kind of plays out and what the story is. You see that sometimes on the Connecticut River too, because they'll release water and it'll adjust.
It's wicked low right now.
Oh, it's crazy low. It's I'll tell you, south of the Holyoke Dam, there is so much exposed structure that you can see the top of. Like right up there. You get a little further down river, it doesn't seem like it's so bad, but like right up by the dam, holy crap, there are like just fully exposed rock piles. And I go over 391 on my way home and I'm like, God damn, I'd just love to throw a fucking football jig on that sucker and see what we can come up with. Obviously when the water's up higher, but you see it happen all the time and it does take time. But that's the whole thing. Like those fish are going to collect where those holes are. And this is why, like when those water levels rise, you see these fish kind of expand out to the areas where they don't normally get the chance to forage around for food, to pick something off. So when you get that submerged timber that only is submerged in the spring, can be like pay dirt, That's an interesting one. But so we're going to go and shift gears. And we didn't hear from him last week or his brother or cousin. No, they're brothers. They're brothers. But Bubba called in. Bubba called in and he went on a bit of a tear. And I think he dropped a couple of nuggets in here that I'm going to utilize to try to get to the bottom of all this. But here we go.
Hey, Jigs and Bigs. How y'all been, man? It's Bubba. It might sound a little different to you. Your boy's sober, man. It's been 4 weeks since I touched a single beer, man. But I was called in to kind of shock that out a little bit, and my sister got on to me because I tried to get her to call in, man. She refused to do it. So I'm calling in to set the record straight, man. I had a conversation with Junior, man, and he's kind of been out of shape at me again. Nothing out of the ordinary. He up and took off to North Carolina for a while with some of his newfound church friends. I don't know nothing about that. He found them while I was locked up for a minute, and but yeah, I got locked up. Cause they found them, I guess they're called catalytic converters at my house. And the boy from down the street, TJ, he's the one that hid them out at my house. He called them Cadillac converters. And he said we was going to make some money off of those when they converted into Cadillacs. Man, let's just put it like this. I got some probation. I got one of these little crazy monitor things on my leg, but it comes off this week. But I wanted to set the record straight about my sister. She's not really my girlfriend. She's going to school for nursing and stuff, and we ain't got a whole lot of money, so she's been working down with the Go-Go bar to make some money to pay for her schooling. I didn't know at the time, and neither did Junior. And I popped up in there because I might have wanted to see some boobies because I hadn't seen any in a while. But when I walked in, there's my sister on the stage, man, and it kind of messed me up a little bit. And, I pulled her to the side, and we was having a conversation. And just as we was wrapping up our conversation, man, in walks Junior, just in time to see me give her a hug and a kiss on the cheek. And he took off running out the door, screaming, calling me sister fucker and whatnot. And, that kind of made me mad, so I just been playing with it forever, ever since. And I tried to tell him he was wrong in the first place, but he wasn't taking it. So, hey, Bubba, yeah, man, you didn't cut me off. But anyway, long story short, I've been messing with Junior about the damn sister boyfriend girlfriend thing, and ain't none of it true, man. I just like getting his goat sometimes. But I didn't expect him when I told him the truth that he's going to run off to North Carolina to find God or whatever the hell he's doing. But I think I'm going to take some time off. I don't do the Pale 8 thing anymore because they drink there, and I'm trying to stay sober and turn over this new leaf. And not the green kind because, we won't talk about the smoking. As long as I'm not drinking, I don't violate my probation. But anywho, long story short, I just wanted to give myself a shout out, and I'm going to take some time away and fish the river. I'm going to start hitting up the Kanawha River. I heard they got some big ones in there. But if anything, I can give you a tip. It ain't for fishing, man. If you got any friends that want to store a catalytic converter at your house, don't do it, man. They ain't gonna come back and get it. You gonna end up in jail with one of these fancy ankle monitors on, man. But cat lines, and y'all have fun now. This might be the last time you hear from me, but I'm sure whenever Junior comes back, he's gonna call in a bitching. All right, y'all have a good one.
Jesus.
Fucking Nick says, think he'd eat the mac and cheese? Todd calls up and he says, I think he's eating mac and cheese now. And Nick says, like, while he's on the call? Todd says, yup, 100. And probation code for surgery, ankle monitor code for the wrist brace, sober thing checks out. Oh my God.
I wish I could come up with that great story and those great voices.
The jury's still not out for me. I'm thinking. There's a part of me that wants this to be real so badly.
I know.
You know, I'm like, I got to give him credit. Whoever this is, like, if we are just being trolled, I got to give credit. Like, everything seems so well organized, and it wasn't all in one go. Like, the fact that he didn't hear anything last week is crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's just nuts. But yeah, so we got that little, and there's your tip from Junior. Stay away from those Cadillac converters. You know, they'll convert to Cadillacs, then you can sell them. God. Crazy shit, you guys. So before we wrap up this live well segment, let's talk 300th episode. There's a couple of things that are going on right here. I do have some info that I can drop, which is great. I've got some notes going that I've been working with. And the 300th, so I put together, this is what I did. I put together an email to send out to a bunch of the past guests that were on the show over the last like 2 or 3 years. And I sent it out to a bunch of the other, brands that we're close with and also just paths have crossed with. And I've got a few that I've already confirmed for prizes. First and foremost, Dark Horse Tackle is our title sponsor for this one. Wrong button, Bobby. Dark Horse Tackle is the title sponsor for this party, which is awesome. So that's a beautiful thing right there. Now, the more of the supporting sponsors that we can bring in, here's the deal. This is all going to go and be applied to lower the ticket price. I want to make this the cheapest ticket we've ever offered. That's the goal. The event is set for Saturday, January the 24th of next year. It's going to be held at Nathan Bill's, specifically at the Sullivan Banquet Hall, just like the 100th episode was. We're going to do a live show recording. We are going to obviously have a lot of mingling and stuff. There will be food available. You'll be able to order off of the Nathan Bill's menu if you want. The menu there is absolutely out of this world. We will have our own bartender for our event, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure that Shannon, the same bartender from the 100th episode, will be there again. She's still there, so it should be no problem. I told her about this. She was very excited. So that's all going on. We have, obviously a bunch of giveaways. Now, this is going to be a live in-person event. We're going to do some fun stuff as far as some giveaways, and there is going to be a door prize. It's going to be a live in-person exclusive. So there will be a door prize. It's going to be made up of a bunch of our prize sponsors. We will be doing giveaways as a live stream as well. And we're going to live stream the recording of the show. So if you can't be in Springfield, Massachusetts for that date, for whatever reason, you can absolutely be a part of the show by streaming it. We're going to stream it right on the Jigs and Bigs YouTube, and you can check it out. We're going to have like a fly on the wall camera, and then when we get into the actual show recording, we're going to bring this in here as well. So it's going to be a real good time. I am saying we're going to do this on YouTube. There's a part of me that kind of thinks that as a backup, depending on the ticket situation with the giveaways and everything, because I have to have tickets because I need to collect a name and shipping address. So that's why there needs to be a ticket element here. So that way, every ticket that you purchase, like every person that buys a ticket, their name's going to go in for the giveaway. We'll just send those off. We have a handful of confirmed prize sponsors right here. We've got Tiny's Hand-Tied Jigs is doing a $100 value hand-tied jig box, and there's going to be a jig pack put into the door prize. Heat Your Meat, Mark Serrano messaged him. We talked about he's going to give us a Heat Your Meat Ultimate Combo Pack, which is chock full of awesome stuff, like the hot and heavy SPG, the hot and the mild versions of the Heat Your Meat seasoning. I believe there's Dalmatian seasoning in there as well, which is like a barbecue rub. It's absolutely out of this world. It's got some really good stuff, and I believe the everything but the bagel seasoning, which is just insane. And then our guest from this week's show, Matt from Boston Anglers, is putting in a variety of different sized craws. And we're going to go and give some stuff away. I do want to mention, too, that on Boston Anglers, if you go over to the website, go to Boston Anglers and take a look. Matt has been so generous as to offer a little bit of a discount for listeners of Jigs and Bigs, and it expires on October the 27th. So you got to get your order in there now. But it is a 10% off discount with the code Jigs and Bigs at checkout. So use the code Jigs and Bigs at checkout. Save yourself 10% off your entire purchase over at Boston Angler. And Boston Angler has some really cool stuff, like we heard about, some other plastics that will be in the fold as well coming soon. And I'm really looking forward to that. So big shout out and thanks to the prize sponsors who have jumped on already. We're going to be announcing more. I've been speaking with a number of past guests on the show. Some people have reached out about being a supporting sponsor. There are supporting sponsor spots still available, and we'd love to have you involved. So go ahead and reach out to Jigs and Bigs if you are interested in being involved. And I will have ticket information that we'll be giving out as we get a little bit closer. I just want to get a couple of things lined up. Now that we've got Dark Horse kind of settled in that title sponsor, that lets me create the tickets that have the appropriate branding on them and everything else. It should be pretty good. I think that about does it for us. Nick is back in here again, and he says, "Oh no! I read that one.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. What a show! What a show, Joe.
Good one.
What a freaking show! It was solid. It was solid. So, I'll be releasing a date for the October Slot and Limit series. I talked to Binya about it, and I was like, "Hey, man, how do you feel about making our trip to the St. Lawrence the slot series?" And he was like, I mean, we definitely could do it. It is a possibility. Like, we could pull it off. What I want to avoid is doing the slot series during the week of the Scavenger Hunt Open, because I just don't want to force somebody's hand to make them fish for bass on that day. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they don't necessarily, I don't know. There's something about it I want to avoid. So the weekend that I'm actually thinking of will be October 18th is going to be when it is.
Okay.
That's my plan. The 11th is when I'll be in St. Lawrence. So I'm thinking the 18th. So the 11th, the 18th, and the 25th, those are all going to be dates that are going to be absolutely nuts for me for fishing. Actually, the entire week from the 20th to the 26th, I'm going to be in full-on multi-species mode. And I've had people, Joe, reaching out to me, specifically telling me that they're going after me to keep me out of the top two. Out of the top two. And to that,
bring it on, motherfuckers. Bring it the fuck
on.
I'll tell you right now, doing the slot tourney while you're up on the St. Lawrence River would be an absolute fucking awful idea. Because
it's also like looking at my track record, Cayuga, St. Clair. Neither of those trips panned out when I was traveling and it was the slot series. I don't think that it's a good idea to go to a brand new body of water and be like, we're going to do the slot series and add that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, not only that, like, very rarely do you catch a smallmouth up there under 17 inches.
There's that too, you know. Although I'll tell you, if there was a guy that's going to do
problem to have.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Did you see the absolute tank that Zek caught during that slot series tournament?
Yeah.
It was like a 19 and a half or a 19 and 3/4, like an absolute giant dude. So congrats to Zek on that. He sent the video.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was like, dude, with the dart hanging out of your mouth and everything. Wow, that is absolute, just amazing. Just what a fucking weekend. What an absolute fucking weekend. So yeah, this week's going to be pretty chill. We're going to have ourselves a good time, get out there and make some stuff happen. But I love it, man. I'm looking forward to it, dude. Looking forward to it. You got anything you want to throw out there before we wrap this sucker up?
Nope, I'm good to go.
I love that shit, dude. Well, hey, you guys go ahead. Have yourselves a great one. We got more Jigs and Bigs goodness coming up for you in 7 days with all kinds of great stuff happening. October's going to be absolutely amazing. We've got great things on tap for you that you're going to very, very much enjoy. Remember, as always, you can go to jigsandbigs.com if you got some merch that you are looking into. I have gotten a couple of notifications like the Jigs and Bigs, the North, the North Face fleece vest is discontinued. It was not a popular seller on the actual seller's end, so they're just not carrying it anymore, which is unfortunate. I'm going to leave it on the store, though, in case it ever makes a comeback. If anybody wants to go ahead and do it. Same thing with any of these other items. If there's a color or something that's been discontinued, I leave it on the store. So if it does come back into the fold, you have the opportunity to go ahead and get it. So yeah, jigsandbigs.com for that. If everybody could do us a favor, okay? like I said, my buddy Paul he's leaving Dana-Farber right now. He's on his way home, which is great. I'm glad things are working out and coming together for him. If you made it this far in the show, I love you very much, but I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go, and if you're listening on Spotify, leave a comment on this episode just saying, fuck cancer. Do me a favor. Just leave that comment, fuck cancer, if you're listening on Spotify here. And if you're listening on Apple, go and leave us a review, and in your review, just same thing. Put, oh, by the way, fuck cancer. And that would be awesome. I just want to try to, manifest as much energy of the fuck cancer world that we can and go ahead and do that. So that would be amazing, guys. We will see you in 7 days of more Jigs and Bigs goodness, guys. Enjoy it. Tag us in your fish picks. We will have certified stud information coming soon. We have not forgotten about you, folks. And as always, be following us on social media. Go follow American Vet Fishing on social media. Follow us on YouTube. God, we need it. Our egos can't handle this shit. We need it. You guys have a great one. Thanks so much for listening in. We'll see you next week with more show. And it's like we always say,
tits and ass, smoke some grass.